on-chain journey to killer apps begins.
This is because 2026 is going to be full of major technological changes on the Polygon chain that will make payments even easier, even smoother, even cheaper, even faster.
Okay.
Hi, good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Bruno. I do DevRel at Polygon, and DevRel today is much different than what it was. It used to be.
How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Your equipment looks very professional as well.
Thanks. Yeah, it's for demos and for code explainers. It's useful.
Wow. Your background is actually your home, or is it AI?
It's my office. Yeah.
Oh, really? That looks awesome. Still Christmas lights on behind.
Yeah, I left it on because it looks kind of cheerful.
Cool. Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Builder Activation Podcast by AKINDO. And I'm Heelim from AKINDO. Today I'm very happy to be joined by Bruno, a DevRel engineer at Polygon. And Bruno works closely with developers and builders in the Polygon ecosystem. So in this episode, we'll talk about what DevRel means at Polygon and Polygon's direction around money and payments on-chain, often called the open money stack, some recent topics and how they affect builders, and also briefly about the builder activation we ran together with AKINDO. So Bruno, thank you so much for being here today. So all right, Bruno, to start, could you introduce your role as a DevRel engineer at Polygon?
Sure. Hi. Good to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm Bruno. I do DevRel at Polygon. And DevRel today is much different than what it was. It used to be, work with developers directly, write docs for them, and take them through some maybe things they get stuck on. Today, this is no longer a thing because of AI. Everybody can learn with AI. Everybody can skip that learning curve and just go straight into product. So actually, the DevRel role is actively evolving. Who knows what it'll be in 2 months from now. But right now, it's more focused on tinkering, coming up with really interesting use cases for the Polygon open money stack and in general, Polygon as the chain and all of its products under its umbrella. And then encouraging people to build products on top of that stack and to evolve this to kind of work with each other. We are no longer doing the traditional style of support where you pay a grant to somebody, maybe they develop something, maybe they don't. Instead, we are now trying to build the best possible infrastructure for any kind of use case people can come up with. And then DevRel is here to kind of steer that, direct that, connect these people together and inspire them with our own use cases and examples. And of course, good docs that LLMs can easily read.
Okay, thank you so much. So you said now you're at the office. Where are you based right now?
I'm in Croatia. I work from Croatia.
Oh, nice. I've been to Croatia one time, Dubrovnik. So which city are you from?
Well, I'm very far from Dubrovnik. I'm on the opposite end of the country in the mainland, away from the sea. The sea is much nicer.
Oh, yes, nice. So what does your work look like on a normal day?
Generally, I will check if there's any pending high priority messages from any teams that I'm talking to, if they got stuck on something, if there's some bugs, if there are problems with the infrastructure so that I can speed them up in resolving this. This is the first priority. If anybody got in touch, I have to resolve their issues first. Not in kind of like a support way, but more in we're stuck on this. Can we even do this? And then, I'll try to do that. Then I will generally dive into any kind of pending stuff that I have currently right now. That is creating some internal tooling for product teams to write docs much more easily and optimizing our documentation stack to include everything that we offer so that LLMs can very easily consume it, so that there's a very comprehensive search on it, so that it's MCP enabled. Just generally the stuff that you need today, like LLM engine optimization, right? And then we also have, as part of this recent acquisition that Polygon announced, we now acquired Sequence, which also powers Trails, which is this intent resolver and kind of cross-chain infrastructure provider for very easy onboarding of people onto all chains. So, execute any contract from any chain to any chain. And also CoinMe as this regulated and certified on and off ramp and money transmitter in the US. All of this brings new APIs, new SDKs, new kind of infrastructure surfaces that we now need to document, try out, simplify, wrap up in the entire Polygon SDK or stack, and offer to people as a way to easily build on top of. So right now I'm focused on diving deep into these, compacting them in a way that anybody can understand, writing examples on how to use all of these in tandem with Polygon's stack, and then pushing that out.
Well, thank you so much. You already explained just before, from your point of view, what does DevRel mean at Polygon today?
Yeah, so that's basically it. Just optimizing for ideas. No longer optimizing for good docs or understanding this concept or that concept. You don't really need to understand the concepts anymore with LLMs taking over the web. You optimize for ideas, and then you optimize for the execution of those ideas. bananas as these elements get connected to one another. So you have many different parts of the stack. You have to optimize for that idea that wants to bring them together. And if they don't work together, you make them work together somehow, whether that's by actually modifying the stack or building abstractions and SDKs that kind of make that simpler, or actually building a better idea than somebody proposed that does the same thing. All of that works.
So I think like Polygon has been focusing more on money and payments on chain, often described as the open money stack. So from an internal perspective, like what did Polygon choose this direction now?
Well, right now, and I'm kind of famous in the Web3 ecosystem as a skeptic, and I see the blockchain as a solution looking for a problem in general. Same with, like agents, and most of the stuff that we're building in Web3 is mostly a solution looking for a problem. And so because of this, I think the symptom of this is that in the 10 years since we've been building on smart blockchains, we've actually not built anything that isn't a casino, right? It's all casinos all the way down. It's leverage this, gamble on this, trade this, speculate on this, but it's all casinos. Nobody's actually ever used DeFi for what it was originally advertised for. This poor farmer in Africa is going to take a loan with his collateral and then find education and build a farm. Nobody's ever used DeFi for anything productive. This is what Polygon wants to change. Polygon wants this ecosystem to not be just a big casino. Instead, we are now absorbing traditional money, absorbing fintech, putting all of that on chain, making these cross-border and cross-chain remittances easy, fast, and cheap by just unifying all of the world's money into a single on-chain stack. And what this allows us to do is to tap into all of these markets that really, not only do they not care about Web3, but they're actively allergic to Web3 because of these associations with gambling and casinos. But now that we have this open money stack, now that we can move money easily and smoothly and cheaply and transparently, and actually not even expose people to the blockchain underneath, but use the blockchain as it was originally intended to be used for really fast and easy transactions of any kind, any amount, in any time of day, this is what is going to actually make a difference. And we're already seeing the need and demand for this. This is why also we're kind of putting the emphasis on this. There's a huge demand of this, not just in the developed world, but especially in Latin America and the developing world and the upcoming emerging markets. They all have a need for easy access to global money, easy global access to global money.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think like this concept has been like 2-3 years already, or like how long?
Well, the open money stack is a new thing, and just this focused pivot on specifically payments is pretty new. It's really new. It's like the last few months. Polygon has always been the faster and cheaper chain that people use for, just rapid fire transactions, and along with prototyping and all of the other stuff. But it was a general purpose EVM chain. And in this world of overflowing chains, you can't really be a general purpose chain, because if everybody's a general purpose chain, then nobody's a general purpose chain. And then you don't really get any advantage of it. And then we also tried for a while, not we Polygon, but Web3 in general, tried app chains for a while, right? A chain focused on a specific app. This is also really stupid. There is no need for app chains, because the friction of UX is too large, and those app chains actually are all centralized anyway. So you might as well just build an app then, not an app chain. And so now we've come to this middle ground where the concept of sector-specific chains has emerged. So Polygon incubated the Katana chain last year, which is this DeFi-specific chain. And this chain focuses explicitly on DeFi plays, but has an opinion on how it should be done. So it prioritizes certain applications as core applications so that liquidity doesn't get fragmented and so on. So it has certain opinions on how DeFi should be done, and it's focusing on that. And then you have Polygon as the payments chain. So payments is different from DeFi. DeFi is the gambling part. Payments is everything else that is actually useful, right? So now this is like a sector-specific chain for payments. So anything you want to do with payments, if you want to build a Stripe replacement, if you want to build a competitor to Western Union, if you want to build some kind of system where remote workers can send their money back home, all of that, or if you just want to build a POS system for, like taking payments in a shop or a store or a restaurant or whatever, or even if you want to build some kind of a interface where people can deposit money and start earning yield on their, like earning interest on their money immediately, this also fits into Polygon under the payments brand. And so we are covering this entire sector now with Polygon with a strong focus on this. So that is why this kind of refocusing and this announcement about refocusing has been in the spotlight in the last few months, and why further innovations and upgrades on Polygon chain will be focused entirely on making payments better.
Okay, got it. So like, was this change driven more by builders, users, or the market?
Market, purely market. So the builder pool in Web3 is really, really small. And even if you take their opinion for what they need, it's still a very small amount of people. But if you look outside of that bubble, if you look at, in general, web developers, or even better, if you look at payment developers, so fintech developers, fintech companies, enterprises that need to talk to each other, invoice each other, like buy and sell from each other, that's a completely different market that Web3 is fundamentally ignoring for the last 10 years for some reason. So by focusing on this market, and by focusing not just on these customers, but also on the emerging markets that we're noticing are getting more and more attention and building more and more in this space, this is where we were able to kind of determine, like, okay, this is obviously the next logical play.
Okay, thank you so much. So I also heard Polygon very recently announced some acquisition related to what is called the infrastructure. Like, could you first introduce what happened there?
Oh yeah, so Polygon, as part of this payments focus, kind of like this payments takeover, it would not be rational to try and build stuff in-house that is already well built outside of it, especially in terms of regulation, licensing, and so on. And if we can get this expertise from outside, it's better than trying to reinvent the wheel inside. And so this is what Polygon did, essentially. The two acquisitions are the ones I mentioned before. So Sequence and CoinMe. So CoinMe is a regulated, licensed money transmitter, money fiat on-ramp, off-ramp in the US, permission for Polygon also to be sending around real money in the US, right? And then you also have Sequence, which developed trails and other stuff, which allows us to actually abstract away the chain complexity and let people use this easy money transmitting with ease of use of Web 2, where they just don't really have to bother with the chains and gas fees and transactions and reading the complicated transaction pop-ups that appear and so on. So these two acquisitions are making are basically hyper accelerating the payment focus of Polygon so that we can build around it and now focus on what I mentioned before. So we build ideas around all of this now.
I see. So I researched it a little bit, but these weren't originally built only on Polygon, right? It's not on Polygon.
No, they weren't. They were actually independent. They didn't actually have anything to do with Polygon. I don't know exactly where each one started. I don't know that. But we acquired them precisely because they're not locked into any kind of platform. We want the global access. We want the spread. We want we want people to be able to do whatever they want to do with their money. This is why we're developing the open money stack. But I'm not sure where they started in terms of platform.
So why was it important for Polygon to bring in external infrastructure instead of building everything in-house?
Yeah, it's just a matter of hands, workload. We would have to simply drop everything else to develop this immense piece of infrastructure. It's not only large in size, but large in legality, large in planning, large in testing, in acquisition, in market testing, product market fit, in just everything that they've already done. And ultimately, it would be more expensive to develop this in-house and probably more dangerous than simply acquiring what we really need and then building on top of it.
Understood. So from a builder's point of view, like, what do you think these decisions signal to builders in the Polygon ecosystem?
Well, builders don't know this yet, but they will have a much easier time connecting to global fintech rails now through Polygon. Polygon was already really well connected. Almost every centralized exchange is on-ramping and off-ramping into Polygon in some way. This just makes it even easier. And if you want to travel across chains and ecosystems, this again makes it even easier. While the UX and DX boost is not immediately obvious, this is our job as DevRel to make it very immediately obvious and to show people what you can do now with the Polygon stack.
Okay, thank you so much for explanation. So, let's talk about some builders. We recently ran a builder activation together with AKINDO and Polygon. So from your DevRel perspective, what was the main goal of running this program?
Personally, I think kind of hackathons in general and any kind of, I guess we could call it a hackathon, are on their way out now. because with LLMs, you can actually vibe code any kind of slop very, very quickly. And the more hackathons we have, the more we will see. And because of this global connectivity, you can actually have a incredibly large audience of people just vibe coding random ideas at you, to the point where organizing a hackathon basically turns into a DDoS session. You know, your brain gets DDoSed beyond the point of being able to filter these submissions. And so then you can't really dedicate the proper attention to any of these submissions. So what you turn to is you add AI judgment. And so now what happens is you have AI submissions being judged by AI bots. So basically it's AI submitting to AI, and where are we? Where are the humans, right? For me, this was kind of one of the last attempts to find people with interesting ideas that we can reach out to and help grow. I would not like to focus entirely on products and services that are already unicorns and then try to get them to like, hi, come over on Polygon as well, right? I want to find people who actually have ideas and ambitions, and then just vibe code this in a weekend and then submit it and hope for a monetary prize. I want to find people who want to build in this space for something other than gambling, with a good idea that I can help them spin up. And I think this was one of the last opportunities for this, where we can actually find real humans with real interest and passion for this. And my personal goal was just finding people like that, expanding our developer pool, helping them grow their ideas, connecting them to our growth departments, and just getting them started on a way to a profitable product that they can actually be proud of.
Okay, thank you so much. Were there any interesting projects that stood out?
Not off the top of my head that I can remember right now, unfortunately, but I do know that I had some bookmarked that I still have to take a look at, but I have been admittedly lazy in following up with this, so apologies.
Yeah, it's just beginning of January, and yeah, it's New Year 2026. Yeah. So some companies run in-house hackathons as well. How does Polygon approach builder activation?
Like builder activation in-house, or you mean externally?
Yeah.
You mean like hackathons organized by Polygon?
Yes.
Oh, this is something that we're not going to do anymore. It's basically over, really. In terms of, just the return on investment on hackathons, it's I enjoy it very much. I like it. As a developer, I like hanging out with hackers, especially if it's in person. I like going to East Global, sitting down with people who are hacking, giving them my ideas, maybe even hacking something of my own. I really like that. However, it's a fact that there's less and less quality at these events, and that anything that comes out of these events can actually be reproduced by an LLM in a few hours. And so what it turns into is a idea festival where you don't actually get a lot of execution, and you definitely don't get stickiness. So they don't stick around in your ecosystem. And I don't think we're going to be doing that anymore. I think we are going to be focusing on personal approach, on evaluating idea by idea and checking how different it is from whatever is out there, and pushing as much as we can our own stuff to inspire more complex, more, vertically integrated ideas and so on. But I don't think we're going to be doing any more hackathons, honestly.
All right. So, for example, during the builder activation, what kinds of from builders stood out to you the most?
Well, we learned a lot. We learned a lot about things we need to improve. That was a big boost, for example. We didn't really learn much about the builders themselves. More or less, it was very hard to tell apart these teams. They were all at the very beginning stage of their projects. It's very hard to kind of, find any kind of conclusion. Some problems that they had were coming up a few times, and we've made a note of that, and we will be fixing those things. So frictions that they've encountered developing, mostly this has to do with expectations of infrastructure, reliability of some RPC nodes, just generally stuff like that. What we did get mostly was an excellent signal on what bothers people when they get started with Polygon. Once they get started, we did get the signal that it's smooth and it works well. But this getting started part had a few hurdles that we need to address. And this was really valuable to us.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so actually, I recently saw stats show that the US has a large developer base, and maybe India has a huge one as well.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any specific countries Polygon is focusing on for builder activation, or what do you think?
Not really targeting specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is that the age of indie developers is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody's an indie developer with a vibe coding agent, then nobody's an indie developer. And
Mm-hmm.
for these people, it is now very easy for builders in these locales. Like there are builders all over the place. Every one of them now has a very open road to building on any stack that they want. So the way to reach them is not to organize an activation in a specific locale, because then it turns into a money competition. You know, who's going to throw a flashier event, who is going to have more banners around and so on. And then maybe this converts into somebody using your RPC, but it's not going to convert to stickiness. What you do to convert people to your stack, and this will apply globally, so you don't need local activations, is good optimization, good documentation optimization for LLMs, such that when people are researching where to deploy and what to build, your stack is the natural suggestion of the LLM because it makes sense. LLMs are unbiased. LLMs are not humans. They will not fall for marketing. So if you have factual information that they can verify and then serve to their users if it's true, that is what will be served. And so just reaching the LLMs with good LLM optimized docs is essential, so that if we really do have the cheapest transactions, any LLM will say, you can launch here, here, or here, but if you want cheapest transactions, you go to Polygon. And so it's all about LLM optimization now. That will reach any locale of any activation. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear this. We are in an AI-centric world, and a lot of people are like, AI. It is what it is. You can't escape it. Deal with it, you know? And so this is what people have to focus now. This is what DevRel is now, reaching LLMs through which you reach developers.
Thank you so much. So the next question, what builders should do differently now? So for example, with Polygon moving more toward money and payments on chain, as we talked just before. So what do you think like builders should do differently now, like compared to the past?
Well, that'll depend on the builder and what they actually want to build. But I would say that if you want to build on Polygon, we are now extremely open to payment-centric applications and ideas. If you find anything that will actually, let's put it like this, increasing the number of transactions to do with transferring value rather than gambling. So if you have an idea that will help somebody accept a payment, that will help somebody send money when they can't otherwise, that will help. So, and this is for indie developers. I imagine that, you know, enterprises and businesses, they will know exactly what they need to do. They will know exactly what they want to do, and they will just come and use Polygon just because it makes enterprise sense. For smaller developers, smaller teams, and so on, what you need to think about now, if you want to get the support that is expected from Polygon, you know, social, marketing, whatever, you have to focus on payments and making payments easier for the everyday person. So enterprises will take care of the rest, right? Enterprises will take care of the bankings and the remittances and whatever. There is a gap in this user-centric payments approach. So make it easy for people to manage their money on an individual level, because now you have the rails to do this. So if you have ideas about that, this is the only thing you have to change. And of course, keep an eye on our releases, because 2026 is going to be full of major technological changes on the Polygon chain that will make payments even easier, even smoother, even cheaper, even faster.
Okay, got it. So are there any common mistakes like builders should avoid now?
Common mistakes? That's an interesting question. I don't actually know. I don't think there's any common mistake. I mean, the common mistake is to try and build another Ponzi and launch it on Polygon and expect support, right? There's not going to be any. Or, you know, try and build the 15,000th DEX. Nobody cares. Don't do that.
Nobody cares.
So, yeah. So just don't do what everybody else already did and expect, you know, you can't go, or, you know, like, I don't know, just a random NFT collection. Nobody cares. You know, there's like 2,000 people left in Web3. You won't find the audience. Build something for outside of Web3. Do not. So I guess the mistake would be thinking your audience is Web3. If you think your audience is Web3, you're limiting your PMF reach to 2,000 people. But if you're thinking outside of it, if you're building something for people who don't care about Web3, don't know about Web3, but just use the infrastructure because it's better, cheaper, faster, something, that's where you go. So don't think with Web3 in mind. Don't think I can get these people to gamble on my token. No. Think with, I can create revenue. I can generate revenue by providing a service that these people need using the rails that Polygon now has.
Yeah, I understood. Actually, like my aunt is like 65 years old, and she knows how to buy the crypto. And then after that, she doesn't know anything about like DeFi because it's so complicating to learn for the 65 years old lady. So I hope like there will be some simple product everyone can use. Yeah. Are there any payment products you are particularly interested in?
No, not really.
Not really.
Not really, no. I mean, I have the fortune of living in I guess I like to call it fifth world country, Croatia, because we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy here. But it's still relatively free. I can send money wherever I want. I can get money from wherever I want. I can pay with a dozen different ways in a dozen different places. I can even pay my bills with crypto and gas with crypto, and I can pay in restaurants with crypto here. It's not, for me, it's really, really easy, and I enjoy kind of access to this global market of ideas and technology. But it's very different in emerging markets. It's very different in Latin America. It's very different in Africa and India. These are places that really need innovation on this level. So what I'm excited about is anybody who is excited enough to actually build for those markets. And with those ideas, I would be really happy to try them out, to offer dog fooding support so that we can get them users, get them really valuable over-the-shoulder sessions, send them people who will literally test their product live and tell them where they get stuck, and generally optimize with them, get to market in an optimized fashion. Because unfortunately, it's also, this is another mistake that I want builders to avoid. Don't not use your own app. If you build an app, if you build something, use it. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've tried out an app of a grantee on Polygon that doesn't even work in its basic fashion. They launch something, they never test it. Since there are no users don't test it either. And so they never get bug reports. And so the app stays broken. We do have a dog fooding program at Polygon. And if you need users, we'll get you users. And those users will be from within Polygon itself. So we will send our employees to your app. We will give you the actionable feedback to fix it and to improve it. And you will end up with a marketplaceable product at the end of this process. So, focus on emerging markets and focus on dog fooding your own application. Make sure you at least make sure it works, and get in touch with us if you need help with getting users, getting real feedback. We will help you get there.
Okay, thank you so much your explanation. Well, what do you think is maybe it's like a little bit difficult question. Like, what do you think is the key difference between Web 2 and Web 3, especially in 2026?
The key difference is one has a much worse UX because there are wallets. That's it. That's it. Because all of the L2 chains today are centralized. All of the applications are centralized. They all run on AWS or centralized servers. All of the smart contracts have admin controls that can actually be used by anyone in the company. And at its core, there is no difference. The decentralization and privacy dream of Web3 has died a long time ago. So this is also why we are now focusing on the utility of the infrastructure rather than those original ideals. I'm an idealist. I like to dream that someday we will have privacy and decentralization again. And whatever I build, I try to make sure it's at the very least censorship resistant, downtime resistant, decentralized as much as possible. But I understand that there is no money in this. There is no way to earn money from freedom. You can only earn money from business, from product. And so this is why the commoditization of Web3 into Web2 has happened, and why it will continue to happen until there is some sort of massive, philanthropist that decides to fund privacy and decentralization initiatives out of his goodwill and personal interest. But to get to that point, he also has to make money. So it will probably be another long period of people making money from this in ways that are opposite to Web3. So what the main difference is, it's just wallet friction. And I do hope that with the acquisition of Sequence and Trails, Polygon has gone a long way towards removing that UX friction, because you will now no longer have to bother with all of this complexity. And, your aunt will not be confused in how to use an app. We will make it smoother.
Thank you so much. So personally, I was researching about you, and you worked as a software engineer before, right? So how does working as a developer compared to working as a DevRel, what feels different?
Well, DevRel is In many ways, a DevRel is a robot that teleports knowledge from one person's head into another person's head.
Mhm.
My job is to translate complicated concepts into something that's readable for developers and usable by developers. This is the same thing I was doing as a developer, but for myself. I was reading somebody else's stuff, translating them into logic in my head, and then writing code based on that. It's not that different. It depends also who you are working for. If you're working as a developer for somebody else, as I did long ago, this can be both fun and horrible. But the fun part is you get to impress people who are not technical coders, and so then they think you're doing magic. But the not fun part is that you are making somebody else rich, and basically you are working for somebody else, which is never a great idea. Well, never a really pleasant experience if there are alternatives. As DevRel right now, there's this golden middle ground where I have enough freedom to not have a specific rigid list of tasks like do this, do this, do this, do this. I do have an overarching goal: make life so much easier for developers that encounter Polygon and for people inside of Polygon that they just want to use our stuff. And in that realm, I have the freedom to act how I wish, as long as it's bringing some results. If it's not bringing results, then I'll pivot and I'll do something else. And I'll say where I failed. I'll say where I succeeded. But this experimentation, I think, is key for modern DevRels, because anybody who would put specific rigid tasks on DevRels probably isn't a DevRel and probably isn't on top of things that need to be done. And therefore, any task that he gives us will already be outdated and unnecessary. So you need to keep people on the bleeding edge that are keeping track of all the new trends, new technologies, integrate with whatever stack we have, and then reach as many people through that as possible. And this is something that is, to me, incredibly enjoyable. It's basically being paid to learn and teach. And this is something that I've always enjoyed doing.
Thank you so much. So do you have any advice or people who want to work in DevRel?
That's going to be a real challenge now. Because companies are struggling more and more to define the role of DevRel. They don't actually know what it is to be a DevRel. The last kind of frontier of DevRel is in the companies that are destroying DevRel, which means in the LLM companies. So if you can get a job as DevRel in, I don't know, Anthropic or OpenAI, you're good. You do that if you can. This is the golden opportunity. This is something that everybody should jump at. In Web3 DevRel, that's going to be kind of hard now. It's going to be harder and harder as LLMs absorb all the information we have. There hasn't really been much technical innovation in the last 10 years in Web3. Like realistically, when you look at it, nothing's really happened. Everybody keeps forking Geth since the last 10 years and then maybe changing some parameters. Whoops, now we have an L2. Yay. But actually, no technological innovation happened. Nobody actually did anything. Nobody actually built anything. There's been a few interesting smart contracts, maybe Uniswap or whatever, but really, nobody's really done anything in the last 10 years. And so as LLMs suck up this entire knowledge, you don't actually need DevRels to translate this knowledge very much anymore. So companies that can define their DevRel roles as very versatile and open, those companies will get good DevRels. But how to be a good DevRel is you basically find a technology that seems interesting and just build for it. This is my ultimate advice that I can give to anybody who wants to be a DevRel. Find something that seems interesting, build a prototype on it, put it live, don't make it perfect. Ship it and then polish it if there's any kind of reception. Ship it, tag the project, tag the company, tag everybody involved, tell them, hey, I built this. That's it. Next week, ship another one. Next week, ship another one. The only way to get their attention and learn at the same time is to ship. So just ship. Use the shotgun approach. Ship as many projects as you can. Just whatever sticks. Launch as many as you can. And this will get everybody's attention. Not just the founders, the company, but also everybody in their social circle will start paying attention. And this is how you actually get a good DevRel job. Be an excellent tinkerer. Just build really interesting things and don't build another DEX. Don't build another NFT collection. Build something interesting. Build, an emailing service on chain that uses private keys to encrypt your emails and decrypt them in a decentralized way, or build a torrent tracker on chain, or, build whatever, just build some interesting new things that specific stack that you're interested in is offering as a unique advantage. Use their unique advantages and you'll get noticed.
All right. Yeah, it sounds like workload is huge. Does it ever feel like a 24/7 job?
It is absolutely a 24/7 job. Absolutely. I talk to Claude about specifications for things I have to build while I'm sitting on the toilet. There is
Oh my God.
There's no peace. There is no downtime. Yeah, It is very intense. You constantly have to be on top of things. There is no, you will not find my DevRel pics, posing in Starbucks or in front of the gym or whatever you see on DevRel circles on X. I will constantly be in front of the screen when I'm not with the family. It is absolutely grueling, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it because we are at this frontier. We're in this gold rush. We were born in an incredibly interesting age, right at the beginning of artificial superintelligence. Like we are entering the future, and I am so happy that I can be here to walk through all of these interesting doors, even though many of them will close, many of them will, redirect or whatever. But to me, I just enjoy every moment that I can to learn about all of this.
And thank you. So my question is why did you decide to work at Polygon? Because there are many other projects, right?
I knew the co-founder, Mihailo, and he said that Polygon really needs somebody to drive their DevRel and to do a bunch of the stuff that I was going to do back then. But since then, the entire job pivoted and everything changed. But in general, I knew him. He recommended me. And based on that, I went to Polygon. So it was purely, and at that time I actually left my previous company that I co-founded, which was doing modular NFT standards. And so I was no longer very useful there. So I decided to look for something else. Mihailo just jumped in with a great opportunity and I didn't even think twice.
Okay, thank you. So if you had to describe Polygon in one sentence, what would it be?
Payments infrastructure. It's no longer anything else that we need to grandize or pretend it is or something. It's payments infrastructure. Now, if you want to build something related to payments, Polygon is a default. You want to build a new, Revolut has this automatic investment bot in the application. And you can select if you want it to be conservative, middle, or highly aggressive, like danger mode. If you want to build an alternative to the Revolut trading bot, investment bot, Polygon is the default choice. If you want to build wrapped stocks and replicate IBKR functionality somewhere for stock trading, Polygon is your choice. If you want to create a payment POS for your, for your neighborhood's haircut salons to take payments, again, Polygon is the default choice. It's payments infrastructure. It's the smoothest and easiest, or will be, to build any kind of payments infrastructure. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, DevRel team at Polygon, how many people are on the Polygon DevRel team? How do you usually work together?
Kind of, technically, 2 people have the DevRel role. There's another one there's another one that's kind of cross-team from the Katana team. So we work closely together, but mostly it's just the 2 of us on the Polygon side. There are people who actually do DevRel-ish things on the regular because everybody's so multidisciplined now with AI and everything that their roles tend to bleed over. When we're not talking about the manager role, everything else kind of blends together in a way. So for example, last week I did a lot of infra work on the documentation building pipeline. This is generally not a DevRel's job, but I did it because I'm at home in docs. I know how to do this. I'm good at it, and I can produce results really quickly if I take it on. So it's kind of merging the roles. But there's 2 of us in DevRel, and how we work together is we just have many open channels of communication. We share new findings with each other. We share new snippets, SDKs, news, and whatever. And then we bounce ideas back and forth. What could we do now? What could we do then? What could we do next? And so on. What's the priority? Did you figure this out? Did you figure that out? And yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, thank you so much. So is the team fully remote, or do you have people specific regions, only you in Croatia?
Fully remote. Everybody's fully remote.
Nice. So you don't want to travel, you just want to stay in Croatia with your family, right?
Oh, I don't mind traveling. I travel a lot actually for all of these conferences that we go to and so on. But I do prefer to stay with the family, yes.
Oh, nice.
I'm old now. I don't have the energy to travel around.
You don't look very old. You look very young, actually.
I'm 40 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've had enough. Very young, younger than your age.
Thank you.
So, this 2026, what kind of event are Polygon going?
We don't know yet. I'm sure we'll have some presence at East Denver, probably. And we will definitely, absolutely, unavoidably be in India, since East Global and DevCon are happening in India this year. Polygon has strong ties to India. We will have a strong presence there. For other stuff, I really don't know. I don't think we know either yet. It all depends on how. The problem with Web3 events in general is that, again, they're an echo chamber. And if you go there, you will see the same 2,000 people you've seen on all the other events. When you're trying to build the global open payments stack, that's not exactly where you go. So you have to go to the other events. You have to go to fintech events. You have to go to Web2 events. You have to go to banking conferences. You have to go where the serious players are who generally want to build on the payment stack. And while we do want to expand the Web3 developer circle now with the new infrastructure offering and everything we have, we do also want to break out of this echo chamber. And I think the way to do it is to just go to outside of the Web3 circle.
Thank you so much. Actually, Akindo is going to eat Denver as well. So maybe if I go there, maybe we can meet in person. It would be nice.
If we go, that would be nice.
Yeah. So what's Polygon's vision for 2026? And I'm also wondering what's your personal goal?
So Polygon's vision for 2026 is to just massively upgrade the chain to be, so right now we've positioned it as a payments chain in a little bit in technology, but mostly in terms of how we talk about it and what we want on it. 2026 is going to be the year of us positioning it technologically for payments. So it is going to be an unavoidable payments infrastructure in 2026. That's Polygon's goal. And that's the only goal there. That's it. And in terms of my personal goal, that's really hard to say because of how fast everything is changing. I suppose I would like personally to get involved with some kind of original cypherpunk Web3 ethos where I can actually meaningfully contribute to decentralization and privacy. That would be nice. That would be my personal goal. I would like to see that again. This is why I joined in 2015. This is why I was building back then. And this is what we've lost along the way. I don't think this is conflicting with Polygon goals. I think I can very easily do both. I think, doing one is the key to feeling fulfilled to do the other. So I think that would be it. I want to help Polygon win this revenue race of just global payments, but I also want to help, well, it sounds grandiose, but help humanity get some kind of private infrastructure, decentralized infrastructure up and running that is more and more important today as we see more and more censorship and manipulation.
Okay. Your personal goal also related to work. So do you have any a personal hobby or travel, personal travel plan?
Not travel plans, but I do hope that I can dive at least 15 times this year. That would be
dive.
Nice. Yeah. I like diving.
Scuba diving.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
A blue belt in jiu-jitsu would be nice.
Wow, really? Jiu-jitsu? So your t-shirts is Japanese or Chinese? It's Japanese, right?
It's Japanese, yeah.
Oh, wow. Do you speak some Japanese?
No, not at all. This is just a Uniqlo shirt.
That's cool. Okay. So maybe a last question now. I think during our conversation, it's already we talk about, but looking ahead, when you think about bringing real world money on chain, what does success look like for Polygon?
I can't tell you about the numbers. Can't be specific there, not just because they're kind of confidential, but also because I don't know. But what it looks like is nobody talks about Polygon anymore. Everybody just uses it. And this is what success looks like. You don't have to sell it anymore. You don't have to pay people to come over to your infrastructure to bribe them. Instead, they come to you because you are the natural default, the technical default, the default in terms of stability, reliability, cost, and everything. This is what success looks like. Success is we have payment infrastructure so good that it's not even an option for companies building payment products to consider something else because everything they need is with the Polygon stack. So this is what success looks like. It's hard to quantify, but that's what it is.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. So Bruno, I thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your thoughts. It was really great to hear your perspective as a DevRel engineer. So, and thank you to everyone listening. We'll see you next time on the Builder Activation Podcast by Akindo. I think it's opposite side when we look.
Like this? Wait.
Thank you so much. This is Akindo A. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This is Akindo A. Okay.